Archangel Michael says, "Tonight carries a promise that is written in the very heart of heaven, a promise that God has carefully prepared for you, a gift that will bring joy to your soul and fill your heart with warmth." Because the Lord is not only aware of your prayers, but He is already unfolding the answer in ways you cannot yet see, and this divine moment is an invitation to pause, breathe, and open your spirit to the tender work of His hand, for what He gives is never ordinary but always rich with purpose, filled with meaning, and overflowing with a love that can never be taken away. Type 666 if you believe in God's grace. When your days felt heavy and your nights seemed endless, heaven was not silent, for the Father was shaping blessings behind the veil of time, molding them gently so that when they arrive in your life, they will not only meet your need but will fill your spirit with peace, joy, and comfort, for His timing is never late and His hand never misses the lives of His children who trust Him with faith. The angels have watched you in seasons of struggle, when you held on even with weary strength, and your endurance has been gathered like precious treasure in the heart of God, for nothing you endured was unseen, and tonight the heavens open wide to assure you that the answer long awaited is already moving toward you, and it will not be delayed anymore, for your waiting has created a vessel strong enough to carry the blessing in its fullness. Subscribe to this channel if God has touched your life. You may not yet see it with your eyes, but the Spirit of the Lord surrounds you in this very moment, gently lifting away the burden of yesterday, reminding you that joy comes when the night is almost over, and in this night, your spirit shall rejoice, for the Father delights in pouring His goodness upon His beloved children, and you are among those whom He has chosen to pour this goodness upon. Imagine the calm of the sea at dawn when the first rays of light break the horizon, casting colors that dance over the water in beauty unexplainable, and let that vision remind you of what the Lord is preparing in your life right now, for just as the sea reflects the glory of the morning sky, your soul will soon reflect the glory of God's hand moving in power and tenderness, showing you that His promises are never empty words but living gifts that arrive at the perfect time. Type 1414 to step into divine protection. The blessing spoken of tonight is not ordinary, for it comes from the heart of God who knows every hidden desire, every quiet ache, and every dream you have carried with patience, and because He loves you beyond measure, He has chosen to make this night a turning point where sorrow gives way to joy, where emptiness is filled with abundance, and where hope blossoms into reality as surely as spring flowers break through the frozen soil. Hold on with faith, for the angels are close, and Archangel Michael stands as a messenger declaring that heaven has already sealed the promise, and as you remain in trust, the doors will open, the path will be made clear, and the one thing you longed for will be placed into your hands not as a random gift but as a testimony that God is faithful to those who love Him, and that His mercy endures in every season of your life. Stay until the very end, for heaven has been pressing to share this truth with you today. Do not let fear whisper otherwise, for fear has no authority over a child of God who is wrapped in grace, and tonight grace flows like a river, cleansing every shadow of doubt, restoring strength to weary hearts, and filling you with a gentle certainty that your joy will not be stolen, your peace will not be broken, and your blessing will not be denied, because it is guarded by the very hands of the One who spoke life into existence. The night may seem quiet, yet in the stillness, heaven moves with great power, unseen but undeniable, shaping the moments that will unfold with beauty and filling your tomorrow with songs of gratitude. And even now your spirit can begin to sense the shift, the gentle unfolding of promises, the nearness of answers, and the sweetness of a love that will not leave you empty. For God Himself has decided that tonight your heart will know happiness. And so, rest in this truth. Let it cradle your soul like a warm embrace. Let it carry you beyond the weight of worry, and let it remind you that heaven's word never returns void, because when God declares joy over His child, no force on earth or in spirit can remove it, for His word is life, and His life is light that shines in the darkness, and that light is shining upon you this very night. Type 1919 to embrace healing. Archangel Michael says, "The heavens bend close tonight because God has chosen to bring a gift into your life that will not only answer the deepest longing of your heart but will also remind you of how precious you are in His sight." And as this divine promise begins to unfold, the very weight you carried for so long will start to feel lighter, for the presence of the Lord surrounds you like a gentle embrace that cannot be broken by fear, doubt, or sorrow. The Father has not overlooked you, nor has He turned away when you thought no one was listening, because every whisper of prayer and every tear that fell silently has been gathered in His hands, kept safely like diamonds hidden within His heart, and now the time has come when those prayers are returning to you in the form of joy, provision, and a blessing that carries the fragrance of heaven, leaving no doubt that it could only come from Him. Your journey has not been without difficulty, and at times you wondered why the road had to be so long and filled with challenges, yet every step has prepared you for this very season, and though the night tested your endurance, it also shaped your spirit to hold what God has prepared, so that when the blessing arrives, it will not slip away but remain firmly planted, for the Lord never wastes pain. He always transforms it into strength and testimony. This night carries more than just a promise, it carries a release, for the chains of delay that held back your joy are being broken, the barriers that stood in your path are being removed, and the walls that tried to block your progress are being leveled by the power of God's hand, because when He chooses to move, no force in existence can resist Him, and when He chooses to bless, no one can take it away from you. Feel within your spirit the quiet assurance that something new has already begun, and allow your heart to rest in the thought that heaven is not silent but actively working for you, for angels are moving unseen around you, arranging the steps, opening the opportunities, and preparing the doors that will bring you into the fullness of what God has promised, so that the joy you feel will not be temporary but will overflow into every part of your life. Type 222 if you know God is with you. Think of the way sunlight spreads across the earth after a storm, washing the sky with colors of peace, and let that image remind you that your storm is giving way to calm, your pain is giving way to laughter, and your long nights are giving way to mornings filled with God's mercy, for He does not leave His children lost in darkness, but brings them into light, showing them that His love is strong enough to heal every wound and powerful enough to make every broken place whole again. What God is placing before you is not just an answer to a single prayer, but a sign of His covenant love, a reminder that you are never abandoned and never forgotten, and this gift will carry with it the sweetness of His presence, filling not only your present moment with peace but also your future with confidence, because when God blesses, He blesses beyond the measure of human thought, exceeding what you could ask or imagine. Tonight is not about chance but about destiny, for heaven has appointed this moment, and Archangel Michael stands as a witness to declare that your name is known in the courts of heaven, your life is written in the heart of God, and the blessing that comes now will be proof that His promises are alive, unshakable, and everlasting. So hold this word close and let your faith rise like a flame, because what is spoken from heaven cannot be silenced by earth. The same God who parts seas, who raises the broken, who turns mourning into dancing, is the God who is speaking to you now, assuring you that the happiness promised is not an illusion but a certainty, woven into your story with the golden thread of His grace, and as you receive it, you will find your spirit lifted, your heart renewed, and your path made brighter than before, because His goodness is endless and His mercy is unchanging. Therefore, as you rest in this night, let your heart hold tightly to the truth that you are chosen, you are loved, and you are about to see the hand of God move with tenderness and power, for He has already decreed that your happiness will not be delayed, your blessing will not be denied, and your peace will not be stolen, for it is sealed in His word, and tonight His word is being fulfilled for you. Archangel Michael says, "The voice of heaven reaches into this moment to assure you that joy is no longer a distant dream but a reality that is drawing near, for God in His infinite kindness has chosen to move in your life in a way that will not only answer the cry of your soul but also reveal His love with such tenderness that your spirit will overflow with gratitude, peace, and unshakable faith." Type 1515 to receive peace in your soul. The Father has been watching over you through every season, through the quiet hours when you felt unseen and through the heavy days when strength seemed to fade, yet even in those moments He was weaving a plan that would one day turn your waiting into testimony, because no prayer spoken with sincerity ever fades into silence. And tonight heaven declares that the fulfillment of what you have carried so long in your heart is already in motion. There were times when discouragement whispered that perhaps nothing would change, that perhaps your hope was misplaced, yet those were the very moments when God's hand was working the most, shaping events beyond your sight, aligning circumstances you could not control, and preparing a blessing so deeply personal that it would heal the disappointment of yesterday while planting the seeds of tomorrow's joy. For His ways are higher and His timing is perfect beyond understanding. Let your spirit imagine the beauty of a river breaking through dry ground, bringing life where once there was barrenness, and know that this is what the Lord is doing within you and around you, for He is releasing streams of blessing that will flow into every corner of your life, restoring what was lost, renewing what was broken, and refreshing your soul with the sweetness of His love, so that you will know without doubt that this was His hand alone. The angels rejoice when God's promises are fulfilled, and tonight there is rejoicing in heaven over the turning of your story, because the season of waiting has served its purpose, and the harvest is ready to be placed into your hands, not as a fleeting moment but as a lasting testimony of God's faithfulness, so that you can stand strong and say that His love never failed, His mercy never left, and His grace carried you through every storm. Archangel Michael has been sent as a messenger to remind you that what is coming is sealed by God's authority, and no force of darkness can stand against it, for the blessing meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or erased, and it will arrive in its fullness because heaven has commanded it to reach you, and when heaven commands, creation itself moves to obey, aligning every step so that the promise finds its way into your life at the appointed time. You may not yet hold it in your hands, but the evidence of its arrival is already within your spirit, for you feel the quiet stirring of hope, the gentle lifting of burdens, and the soft whisper that something has shifted, and these are not illusions but confirmations that God is near, that His hand is at work, and that your joy is already rising like dawn after a long night, unstoppable and radiant in its coming. Type 666 if you trust in God's grace and mercy. Think of how a garden blooms after rain, how blossoms appear where there was once only soil, and understand that your life is now that garden, nourished by the mercy of God, watered by the prayers you have prayed, and kissed by the sunlight of His presence, so that soon others will see the beauty of what He has done and know that His goodness is real, His promises are sure, and His love is greater than any trial you endured. This moment is not the end of your story but the beginning of a brighter chapter, one where peace replaces anxiety, where joy takes the place of sorrow, and where blessings flow with abundance, because God has declared that the season of struggle will give way to celebration, and His word never returns empty. It always brings forth life, healing, and hope, and tonight that word rests upon you with power and tenderness. So rest deeply in this assurance, let your heart breathe freely again, and let your soul rise with expectation, because the promise is not far away, it is near, it is real, and it is yours, sealed by the hand of God and spoken by His love, and no shadow can remove it, for light has already claimed your night, and joy has already stepped into your tomorrow. Archangel Michael says, "Heaven leans close to your spirit tonight because the Lord has chosen to unfold a moment that will change the rhythm of your days, and as this promise approaches, you will begin to see that every delay, every hardship, and every hidden tear has been gathered in His love, stored like treasures that now return to you in the form of a blessing so pure and so filled with grace that your heart will tremble with joy and peace." The Father has always been near, even in the times when silence felt heavy and the path ahead looked uncertain, for He never withdrew His hand nor closed His ears to your cry, and though you may have wondered if the heavens were quiet, the truth is that your name was always spoken in His presence, your life was always watched over by His mercy, and your pain was never unseen, for His compassion has carried you even in the darkest valleys. Now the season of sorrow is giving way to a season of divine fulfillment, and the gift that God is placing before you is not a small token but a living proof of His unshakable love, and it will come with such certainty that every doubt will fade, every fear will lose its voice, and every wound will begin to heal, because what He gives cannot be taken away, and what He ordains cannot be undone by the storms of life. You may feel the gentle shift already within your soul, a quiet awareness that something new is unfolding, and that awareness is the Spirit of God moving to prepare you for the blessing, lifting you into a place of peace so that you can receive fully what He has prepared, because His gifts are not given halfway but in wholeness, overflowing with goodness, designed to restore what was lost and to bring abundance where emptiness once dwelled. Type 555 to receive blessings and miracles. Think of the sky after rain, when the clouds part to reveal a brilliant light that seems to make the world new again, and let that vision be the mirror of what God is doing in your life tonight, because He is parting the clouds of sorrow, sending light into the shadows, and filling your horizon with hope that will not disappoint, for His love never fails, His mercy never runs dry, and His promises always bloom at the right moment. Archangel Michael brings this word so that you may not lose heart, for the waiting has not been wasted, the silence has not been empty, and the trials have not been meaningless, but each of them has been shaping your heart, strengthening your faith, and preparing you to hold this blessing with maturity and gratitude, so that when it arrives, you will not only rejoice but also shine as a testimony of God's faithfulness. The angels are moving quietly around you, unseen yet powerfully present, arranging details, clearing obstacles, and guiding the flow of events so that nothing will hinder the arrival of what God has already spoken, for when heaven commands a blessing, creation bends to make it happen, and the same hands that formed the stars are now shaping the details of your life to bring forth the joy that has been promised to you. Let your heart rest in the thought that you are chosen, not by accident or by chance, but by the deliberate love of a Father who calls you His own, and because you are chosen, nothing can stand against you, nothing can remove what He has prepared, and nothing can silence the word that has been declared over you, for it is stronger than fear, greater than opposition, and brighter than any darkness. This moment is the doorway to new peace, a peace that settles deep into your spirit and reminds you that you are never alone, and alongside this peace comes a joy that will not fade quickly but will grow steadily, filling your days with gratitude and your nights with rest, because God has not only promised blessing but has promised Himself, and His presence is the greatest treasure of all, the true source of lasting happiness. So allow your soul to breathe in this assurance, hold on to it as tightly as a child holds the hand of a loving parent, and walk forward with courage, knowing that your life is being written with care by the author of creation, and the chapter unfolding tonight is one of beauty, restoration, and joy, for God has spoken, and His word is alive within you, guiding you into a future where His goodness will shine unending. Archangel Michael says, "The hand of God is stretched out over your life tonight with a tenderness that cannot be measured by human words, and within that hand lies the very answer you have been waiting for, the fulfillment of a promise that seemed far away but has now drawn near, and as it approaches your spirit, you will feel the weight of despair begin to lift. For God never forgets His children and never abandons those who cling to Him with trust." Type 444 if you believe in God's divine protection. There were hours when the road felt endless, when you wondered if the silence from above meant that your cries were unheard, yet heaven was never still. For in those unseen moments the Lord was building the foundation of your blessing, ensuring that what comes to you now will not be fragile or fleeting but steady and lasting, because His ways are never hurried and His plans are always perfect, designed to arrive at the exact moment when your heart is ready to receive. The blessing that draws close tonight is not only an answer to longing but also a declaration of God's love, a reminder that He sees the small sacrifices, the unseen acts of kindness, and the quiet endurance of pain, and because He sees these things, He rewards not only with provision but with joy that enters the heart like light entering a darkened room, filling every corner until shadows can no longer remain. Think of a field once dry and cracked beneath the heat, and then imagine the rain falling, soaking the ground, causing green shoots to push through the soil, and let this vision rest in your spirit as the picture of what God is doing within you, for your heart will no longer remain barren, your life will no longer echo with emptiness, and your soul will no longer thirst without quenching, because the rivers of His mercy are flowing even now to restore and renew. Angels stand near in this hour, messengers of God's compassion, watching carefully as heaven's promise draws closer, for they rejoice when the Father's children are lifted from sorrow into gladness, and tonight their rejoicing grows, because the turning point has come, and your journey moves now into a season where hope is not distant but present, alive, and overflowing, reminding you that no pain was wasted and no prayer was ignored. Archangel Michael brings this assurance to steady your spirit, because though the waiting tested your faith, it also deepened it, and that faith has become the vessel strong enough to carry the blessing without breaking. And now as the blessing is placed into your life, it will not only satisfy your longing but also strengthen your future. For what God gives is not a temporary comfort but an eternal reminder that His hand is steady and His promises unshakable. The gift you are about to receive will not only bless you but will also bless those around you, for the joy God pours into your heart will overflow into your words, your actions, and your presence, allowing others to witness the faithfulness of the Lord through your life, and this ripple of blessing will spread farther than you imagine, showing that when God lifts one life, the light shines outward and touches many. Allow your heart to breathe in the calm of this truth, for peace is settling upon you like a gentle blanket, silencing the voices of fear and quieting the noise of worry, and within this peace, you will find strength to move forward without hesitation, because the Lord Himself walks before you, and where He leads, no obstacle can remain, and where He speaks, no power can oppose, for His authority reigns over every season of life. Type 1919 if you believe healing is yours. This night is not like other nights, for it carries with it a holy weight, a certainty that tomorrow will not look like yesterday, because God has marked this moment as the hour when your tears will be exchanged for joy, your weakness for strength, and your uncertainty for confidence, and though you may not see the fullness yet, it is already unfolding, already written in heaven's plan, already secured by His eternal word. So rise within your heart, hold tightly to the assurance that you are loved, chosen, and protected, and let your soul rest in the knowledge that happiness is not a distant hope but a present promise, because God has spoken, and His word does not falter. And tonight you can rest knowing that His hand is upon you, guiding, protecting, and blessing you with all the richness of His endless love. Archangel Michael says, Heaven has written this night as a moment of release, a moment when the chains that once held you down are falling away and the path before you is opening wide, for God in His infinite wisdom has chosen to pour into your life a gift that not only answers your longings but also renews your spirit with peace, reminding you that you are loved, chosen, and carried by His eternal mercy. The Father has seen how you endured quietly, how you walked through storms without surrendering your faith, and though the world may not have noticed, Heaven has recorded every step, every sigh, and every tear, and now the reward that flows from His heart is coming forth with power, not as a small comfort but as a great testimony that His word is living, that His promises do not fade, and that His love does not abandon those who wait upon Him. This blessing will not arrive with noise or confusion but with the gentleness of a dawn that spreads light across the horizon. And just as the night cannot resist the coming of morning, so also your trials cannot resist the arrival of God's hand of goodness, for He has spoken life where there was despair, joy where there was heaviness, and healing where there was pain, and His word carries authority over every season you have walked through. Think of the mountain streams that break through the rocks, carving paths where none existed before, and know that this is what God is doing now within your life, making a way in places that seemed closed, breaking through barriers that appeared unmovable, and creating opportunities that reveal His hand, because he is not limited by what you see but is able to bring forth beauty and strength even from the places that once seemed impossible. The angels rejoice tonight, for they know the joy that is approaching your life, and Archangel Michael speaks with assurance that what God has prepared is not fragile but firmly rooted, and it will not wither or fade, for it is born of his eternal will and delivered through his unshakable love, and though the adversary may have tried to discourage you, he cannot stop what heaven has already ordained. Type 1818 to claim miracles and breakthroughs. This moment is sacred, for it declares that the waiting has ended and the blessing has begun, and within your spirit you will sense the stirring of new hope, a quiet confidence that tomorrow will carry light, and that light will not be dimmed by shadows, for God Himself is the source, and His light shines forever, guiding, comforting, and lifting you into the fullness of His promise. The gift coming into your life will restore what was broken and replenish what was lost, and it will arrive with such tenderness that you will know it could only come from God, because human strength cannot create what only His love can provide, and when you receive it, you will feel the embrace of His presence wrapping around you like the warm glow of evening light after a long day, soothing your soul and filling your heart with gratitude. Let the truth of this moment settle deep within you, that you are not forgotten, that your prayers have not been lost, and that your future is not without direction, because the Lord has already gone ahead of you, preparing the steps, arranging the details, and shaping the blessings so that when they unfold, you will walk in them with joy, and your spirit will testify that His timing is flawless and His faithfulness is endless. Every hardship you endured is now becoming the foundation for your testimony, every delay is becoming the backdrop for your breakthrough, and every tear is being transformed into a song of praise, because God does not allow pain to remain wasted, but He turns it into strength, He turns it into beauty, and He turns it into the proof that His hand is guiding you toward a future that shines with His love. So hold tightly to this assurance tonight, breathe deeply of the peace it brings, and let your soul rise in gratitude, because what you have longed for is no longer beyond reach, it is here, it is near, and it is yours, sealed by the love of God, delivered by His mercy, and guarded by His eternal promise, for when He says that joy will come, joy cannot be denied, and tonight His joy is already flowing toward your life. Archangel Michael says, "The heavens are filled with a quiet joy tonight because the hand of God is reaching into your life with a blessing that carries more than comfort, it carries transformation, and as this gift unfolds, you will see how the Father has been weaving every detail together, shaping each moment, and preparing you for a time such as this when the promise becomes reality and the longing within your soul turns into peace and gladness." The Father has not forgotten the nights when you prayed in silence, when your heart ached for relief, and when hope felt faint, for those prayers rose like incense before Him and were kept in the chambers of heaven, and now He has chosen to answer in a way that will leave no room for doubt, because the blessing that arrives will be wrapped in such tenderness that you will know it could only have come from His heart. This moment has been written into your story long before you could see it, and though the journey tested you, it also strengthened you, building within your spirit a resilience and faith that now makes you ready to hold the gift without fear, for God's timing is not measured by haste but by perfection, and when He moves in a way that is complete, leaving nothing lacking and nothing unfinished. Think of the sunrise that spreads across a dark horizon, painting the sky with colors too beautiful for words, and let that vision remind you of what is happening in your life right now, because the dawn of your joy is breaking, the first light of your blessing is shining, and no shadow can resist its arrival, for the Word of God has already gone forth and creation itself is aligning to bring it into being. Archangel Michael stands to declare that what comes to you now cannot be hindered, because it is sealed by the authority of heaven, guarded by angels, and carried by the eternal will of God, and though opposition tried to delay it, those delays only prepared the way for a greater testimony, because now when it comes, you will know it was the Lord alone who made it possible. Type 1717 to affirm your life is in God's hands. The blessing is not simply about receiving something you asked for, but about entering a deeper awareness of God's love, for in the gift itself you will discover His nearness, His compassion, and His desire to fill every empty space with His goodness, and that nearness will bring rest to your weary soul, lifting you into a peace that surpasses understanding, a peace that assures you that you are safe within His care. This night carries the fragrance of answered prayer, and within that fragrance is the sweetness of hope renewed, because where there was once discouragement, now faith rises, and where there was once heaviness, now joy takes root, for God does not leave His children in sorrow, but turns their mourning into dancing, their weakness into strength, and their longing into fulfillment. Let your heart picture a garden bursting into bloom after long rains, flowers rising in colors that fill the air with beauty, and see yourself as that garden, watered by the mercy of God, nurtured by His promises, and kissed by the light of His presence, for this is the season of your blossoming, and what grows in your life now will not wither but flourish, bearing fruit that reminds you daily of His endless faithfulness. The angels rejoice at this turning, for they know the joy that is destined to enter your heart, and they surround you with unseen strength to carry you forward, ensuring that nothing will steal what God has ordained, and as you step into this new season, you will see doors open with ease, paths made straight, and opportunities placed before you that shine with the fingerprints of heaven. So rest deeply tonight in the certainty that you are not forgotten, you are not left behind, and you are not without purpose, because God has chosen to bless you, and what He blesses no one can take away, and as His word unfolds in your life, your spirit will rise with gratitude, your heart will overflow with joy, and your future will shine with the light of His unending love. Archangel Michael says, "The Father in His mercy has written this night as a chapter of joy, for He has chosen to bring forth into your life the very thing your heart has been waiting for, and though the journey here has been long, filled with moments where silence felt heavy and hope seemed fragile, tonight heaven declares that the time of waiting is giving way to fulfillment, and the blessing that has been prepared for you is now drawing near with certainty. God has watched every step of your path, not from a distance but with the closeness of a loving Father, for He has seen your struggles, your quiet endurance, and your determination to hold on even when the road was unclear, and because of this, He has chosen to honor your faith with a blessing that carries the fullness of His love, so that you may know beyond doubt that His promises are alive and His word never returns empty. This moment is not a coincidence but a divine appointment, carefully woven into your story by the one who knows the end from the beginning, and though the enemy tried to discourage you, to convince you that nothing would change, those lies are now silenced, because the evidence of God's goodness is about to appear in your life, shining with such clarity that it will become a testimony not only to you but to all who witness it. Picture the calm that follows after a storm, when the winds cease and the air becomes still, carrying the freshness of renewal, and let that image remind you of what is unfolding within you right now, for the storms of your past have ended, the rains have passed, and now the peace of God is settling in, wrapping your heart in comfort and filling your soul with the quiet assurance that better days have arrived. Type Amen if you surrender fully to God's will. Archangel Michael speaks with certainty that what is being given to you is sealed with divine authority, and no hand can take it away, no shadow can cover it, and no delay can block it, for when heaven releases a blessing, it is unstoppable, and this one has already been marked for you, carrying your name in the heart of God, and it comes not only to bring happiness but also to restore hope and heal wounds you thought would never close. The angels stand guard around this promise, ensuring that the path remains clear and that nothing interferes with what God has chosen to place into your life, for you are His beloved, and because you are His, He surrounds you with protection, guidance, and favor, lifting you into a season where your spirit will no longer feel weary but will rise in gratitude, knowing that His mercy has carried you through. This blessing will not only satisfy the longing of your heart but also overflow into every corner of your life, bringing peace where there was turmoil, clarity where there was confusion, and joy where there was sorrow, and as it unfolds, you will see that it is more than you expected, greater than you imagined, and deeper than you hoped, because God gives in abundance and delights in surprising His children with goodness that cannot be measured. Let your heart imagine a candle being lit in a dark room, the flame growing brighter until the entire space is filled with light, and let that vision remind you of what is happening in your life, for the darkness that tried to surround you is being pushed away, and the light of God's love is filling every corner, leaving no space for fear, no space for doubt, and no space for despair, only peace, comfort, and radiant joy. The Father delights in giving, and tonight He delights in giving to you, for He knows your needs, He understands your dreams, and He desires for your soul to rest in His love, and because He delights in you, He has chosen to bless you, not with ordinary things but with gifts that carry His presence, so that every time you think of them, your heart will be reminded of His faithfulness. So receive this truth into your spirit tonight, hold it as a treasure, and let it quiet every fear and silence every worry, because God has spoken joy over your life, and when He speaks, no power in heaven or on earth can undo His word, for His promises are eternal, His mercy is endless, and His love is unshakable, and tonight that love rests upon you like a gentle light that will never fade. Archangel Michael says, "This night is clothed with a divine presence because God has chosen it as the moment when the silence breaks and the blessing long prepared begins to enter your life, and as this promise draws near, your soul will feel the gentle lifting of burdens, the quiet restoration of peace, and the tender assurance that you are loved beyond measure by the One who created you and who holds your future in His hands." Type 1313 to affirm strength through the Lord. The Father has not forgotten even the smallest details of your prayers, the ones spoken aloud in moments of desperation and the ones kept hidden in the quiet chambers of your heart, for every longing has been written upon His heart, and now He is answering not with fragments but with fullness, not with shadows but with light, because His blessings are never partial, they are complete, perfect, and overflowing with grace that satisfies deeply. There were nights when fear whispered that nothing would change, when disappointment tried to convince you to give up hope, yet those were the very nights when God's hand was moving behind the veil, aligning circumstances, touching hearts, and preparing the way for the promise to come alive, and now the time has arrived when that hidden work will be revealed, and you will see with clarity that his delays were never denials but divine preparations. Think of the ocean waves, steady and powerful, moving without ceasing, shaping the shore even when no eye is watching, and understand that this is how the Lord has been shaping your life, gently, consistently, powerfully, until the time when his work could no longer remain unseen, and tonight that unveiling begins, as his blessing approaches with the force of his love and the tenderness of his mercy. Archangel Michael comes as a herald to remind you that the promise before you is unstoppable, for it has been sealed by the will of heaven, guarded by angels, and released through the eternal Word of God, and because his Word is living, nothing in creation can resist it, nothing can undo it, and nothing can stand against it, for what God has spoken into your life must come to pass in his perfect time. The blessing is not simply about the gift itself but about the transformation it brings, for when it arrives, it will lift away the shadows of doubt, it will restore your confidence in the goodness of God, and it will anchor your faith more deeply in his love, so that you no longer look at tomorrow with fear but with hope, knowing that if he has been faithful now, he will continue to be faithful in every season ahead. Let your heart picture the beauty of spring after winter, flowers breaking through the soil, trees budding with new life, and fields clothed in green, and let this image remind you of the newness that God is bringing into your story, for your winter has passed, and now your spring is here, a season of blossoming, a season of refreshing, and a season of joy that cannot be stolen because it has been written by the hand of God himself. The angels rejoice with you in this unfolding, for they see the goodness that is arriving, and they stand ready to guide you forward, ensuring that no obstacle will hinder what God has prepared, and as you step into this blessing, you will feel their presence close, surrounding you with protection, filling you with courage, and reminding you that heaven walks with you every step of the way. This moment is holy, not because of anything you have done but because of who God is, and in his love he has chosen to mark this night with joy, to let you feel his presence more clearly, and to remind you that you are never forgotten, never forsaken, and never outside the reach of his grace, for his love is endless, his mercy is deep, and his promises are eternal. So breathe in this truth and let it rest upon your spirit like gentle rain upon dry ground, and as you hold it close, you will find your heart rising with gratitude, your soul shining with hope, and your life opening to a future filled with the light of God's goodness, for he has spoken happiness over you, and his word cannot be undone, and tonight that word is alive within you. Type 1212 if you know God is guiding your steps. Archangel Michael says, "The night carries a holy stillness because God has decided to draw near with a blessing that will not only bring joy but will also renew your spirit with strength, and as his promise begins to unfold, you will feel the gentle shifting of your heart, the lifting of the weight you carried for so long, and the soft assurance that his love is covering you like a warm mantle that no darkness can remove. The Father has seen the long roads you have walked, the moments when hope seemed faint, and the times when you wondered if your prayers reached beyond the ceiling, yet not one prayer has been lost, for every word, every tear, and every silent longing has been treasured by him, and now he has chosen to respond with abundance, pouring into your life a blessing that carries the fragrance of heaven and the strength of his eternal faithfulness. This gift is not a small answer but a great unfolding, a testimony that your life is written carefully in the heart of God, and though the enemy tried to whisper that you were forgotten, the truth shines brighter tonight, because you were never abandoned, never overlooked, and never left behind, for His eyes have been upon you from the beginning, and His love has carried you through every shadow into this moment of light. Think of the quiet dawn, when darkness retreats as the sun rises over the horizon, spreading warmth across the land, and let that vision remind you of what is happening in your life, for the darkness of sorrow is fading, the heaviness of despair is lifting, and the light of God's presence is breaking forth, covering you with hope that will not fade and joy that will not be taken away. Archangel Michael brings this word so that you will not lose courage, for the blessing that comes is already sealed in heaven, and no power of earth or spirit can resist what God has decreed, because His authority is final, His will is unshakable, and His promises are everlasting, and what He has spoken over your life is now becoming visible, not as a distant dream but as a living reality unfolding before you. The angels move around you with quiet strength, preparing the way for the blessing to rest fully in your life, clearing obstacles, opening doors, and ensuring that what God has given you will reach you without delay, and though you may not see them with your eyes, their presence surrounds you, filling your path with protection, their wings covering you in peace, and their watchfulness ensuring that nothing will harm what God has prepared. This season will not resemble the seasons before, for where there was delay, now there will be swift fulfillment, and where there was heaviness, now there will be lightness of spirit, and where there was sorrow, now there will be laughter, because the Lord delights in lifting His children into joy, and He delights in showing His power by turning what seemed impossible into a testimony of His love. Allow your heart to picture a fountain springing up in a dry land, water flowing where there was once only dust, and let this image rest within you as a promise that God is bringing refreshment to your soul, that He is restoring the parts of your life that felt barren, and that He is filling your future with streams of peace and rivers of abundance that will not run dry. The Father delights not only in giving but in being present within the gift, for the blessing you receive will carry His presence, and in that presence you will find the greatest treasure of all, which is not simply the answer to your longing but the closeness of His love, a nearness that will comfort you, guide you, and remind you that no matter where you walk, He walks beside you with tenderness and strength. So let your spirit rest tonight in the knowledge that you are chosen, you are loved, and you are about to step into a joy that cannot be stolen, because it comes from God Himself, and when He gives fully, abundantly, and eternally, and His word has already spoken over your life that this is the night when happiness begins to bloom, and His word is life that cannot fail. The Father has always been near, watching with a love too deep to measure, and though you may have walked through valleys where shadows stretched long and silence seemed endless, His eyes never left you, His hands never withdrew, and His heart never ceased to hold your name close, and now the time has come when His answer arrives, not in fragments or portions, but in a fullness that will overflow and heal the empty spaces within. This blessing is more than a gift, it is a testimony, a living declaration that the God who promised has not forgotten, and as it settles upon your life, you will see how His timing was not delay but preparation, shaping your spirit with resilience, building your faith with endurance, and teaching you to rest in His love, so that now when the blessing arrives, you can embrace it not with fear but with gratitude and peace. Type 1111 if you believe heaven is listening.